Well, hello there, class, and welcome to IA 220. That is Electronic Media 1 here at Endicott College in the winter session of 2021. And as you can guess by the pre-recorded class introduction, this is an online class, and it will actually be an asynchronous class. So we will pretty much meet remotely and not at the same time. You'll be making comments, posting assignments to Canvas. If you do need help, instead of class time, I will be having individual help sessions that you can sign up for. There's a link on Canvas, along with links to pretty much everything else on our Canvas webpage and also in the emails that I've been sending out. So here, let's take a look. Let me move myself out of the way, and we'll take a look at the class. So first of all, this is the official catalog description. It's intended to give you a set of strategies for incorporating technology and electronic workflow strategy into your design work. It's all about using the computer to create the drawings and models, the representations of your project that we need to evaluate it, to discuss it, to analyze it, and to present it to other people. We do drawings for each other and we do them for other people, and there's a variety of techniques. And there are a number of specific outcomes. One thing that I happen to have a pet peeve about is electronic workflow. It's really important to know how to manage your workflow and keep your project moving along efficiently. Things, if you've had my class before, you know how picky I am about having backups of your work. You need to back up your work, and that's all part of workflow, making sure that how you work makes it easy to pick up where you left off, to be able to submit your projects in a timely and efficient manner. So anyway, BIM, you might keep seeing this all over. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling. And that is, it's not just drawing. Drawing is kind of like putting down lines, kind of like AutoCAD. AutoCAD is not a building information modeling program per se. Building information models are actually really closer to databases. You might draw a chair, but the chair actually has information about the materials it's made out of, their visual characteristics, their structural characteristics. It might even have product information about where you can buy it, including the catalog number, that sort of thing. And that is the industry standard. The architectural field pretty much uses BIM to produce all sorts of construction documents. And lesser so in the design process, but definitely in that part of the design scheme as well. You'll be creating orthographic construction drawings and schedules, but also perspective views and rendered and non-rendered views. And of course, presentations, although in this case, the presentations we will be doing are not printed presentations because, of course, we're not printing anything because we're a remote class. Finally, there is one skill we won't be getting in the online version, which is the laser cut and three-dimensional models. Sadly, those are going to be unavailable remotely. But we can certainly do those. And frankly, those are really a matter of kind of saving as a project and converting it to a format that those devices can read. So. Anyway, there are certain strategies that we're going to be using. I'm going to be using this semester, obviously, online delivery, which means remote via the computer. So get yourself a good, comfortable working space. Get your desk and your laptop up nice and high so you're not slouching. I have created recorded lectures which are on YouTube, which will give you great detail about how to produce the assignment. Now, some of them are a little on the dated side, or there are errors. I know it's hard to imagine, but I've actually made some mistakes in those assignments, in those lectures, and in the assignments on Canvas, which you should read before posting your projects. I do make up for any elements in the videos that may not be 100% either correct or up to date. Now, other things, obviously, we will not be having any synchronous class meetings. We just talked with Professor Renz about it, and we decided forget it because of scheduling conflicts. And also, some of you are taking another class, and there are only so many hours that are available in our online day. So, and then I believe they are meeting synchronously. So, anyway, I will have a sign up time available, typically Monday through Friday, 9 to 11. However, if you're working or have other commitments, obviously I can work around it because guess what? We're remote. I'm at home and I have nothing else to do, and I'm paid by the hour, so I better ramp it up a little bit. So there are several things I do want you to do and not to do. Obviously, reading the assignment before doing it in an asynchronous class, this is how you know what you should be doing, is the assignment. Now, it is kind of silly to just lay it out so simply for you. Really, I should encourage independence of thought and working things through yourselves. But we do have to have something submitted, and I do actually have to grade it. So this allows me a chance to be somewhat consistent in what the results that I get from you guys. And there are video assignments, video recordings associated with pretty much every homework assignment. So watch the video. I know it sounds simple, but you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised at how hard it is to get people to watch the entire video. So please do that. And also take notes. You can do this however you prefer, by hand, or I provided a little kind of study sheet. Some people like to write on their iPads if they have an iPad. It's entirely up to you. But as you go along, keep track of what you're learning so that you remember it. And of course, if you get stuck, ask for help. Email, of course, is probably the easiest way to reach me because I'm not always going to be sitting at my computer, but I probably will have my phone with me at all times. Finally, when you post your assignments, it is required that you make comments on other students' projects. This is it for interactivity here on our remote class. So please take a look at their assignments. And I have some detailed instructions which we'll go over on how to post so that it's easy for other students to see your work. So the thing that you should not do is fall behind. This is a very quick class, really just over 2 weeks, 13 class sessions, I believe is what we have. So, or something like that. If you fall behind even just a couple of days, it's going to be hard to get caught up. Now, that said, these videos, they are going to take some time. My experience has been that each one typically corresponds to about a class period, roughly 1 hour and 50 minutes. So you should be able to complete both of your homework assignments in roughly 4 hours. That said, some of you may run through it and blow through the assignment and be done in half an hour. And for others of you, it may take many more hours. It's just, it all depends on your skill set. So please, please, please watch the entire video. Do not fall behind. The other thing that I will encourage you to do, and encourage you with the putting, a great deal of fear into your mind, which is if you lose your files, that's honestly not my problem. Okay. I am warning you now, back up your work, back it up right now. You need to have a system to back up your files, because if you lose them, you lose. You have to recreate all of your work. And this is the point you're now doing sophomore level work where this is required that you have some way of recovering your work. And you'll find on the Pages section of Canvas, there are some links to different backup systems that you can subscribe to. I happen to use Dropbox because it works well when you have both Windows and or non-Apple and Apple products, which I have a bunch of everything. So of course I need to be able to synchronize multiple locations. But for most of you, that's fine. And there is a free version of that gets you a couple of gigabytes of memory. There's also iCloud, or OneDrive, I believe, is the Windows version. All of these will work across multiple devices. So, what are we going to be doing this class? Well, I've divided this up by class periods or class days. First of all, we're going to start by learning Revit. Revit is the big player here in the AEC industry, and we're going to do some existing conditions drawings in a kind of construction drawing format, or working drawings, as some people call them. And that'll be basically the first week. The second week, we're going to do a schematic design. And that's pretty much what you do here in our design studios at Endicott. You create a schematic design where you come up with a scheme, some idea for a project, and then try to flesh it out. In our case, it's going to be an art gallery. This will be an interior renovation project. We'll have a quick Photoshop charrette, one to kind of break it up a little bit, because boy, Revit can really numb your brain. Also, Photoshop is kind of the last step that you should pretty much always do before putting together a project. It allows you to fix your drawings, to enhance your drawings, to make a better presentation. So you should pretty much get used to using it, and it does a lot of really great things. And you can save yourself time by saying, oh, I'll fix that in Photoshop. So finally, the last project will be a redo of an architectural precedent using Revit also, and we'll be doing a lot of photorealistic rendering. So my particular objectives, the big thing, I have a couple of things. You want to be able to do a good design, right? We're in school not so much to become sort of CAD jockeys. Maybe we are, but we really want to recognize good design and be able to create it. And to do that, you really need to be able to create pretty much anything you can come up with on the computer. And I will say that there is no single software program that gets you all that you need. So I'm a big fan of SketchUp, and it can do a lot of really terrific things. But it's great for, say, simple models, room studies, furniture, and exterior models. However, for multi-story projects, especially ones where you want a lot of detail, SketchUp just ain't gonna get you there. And same with Photoshop. You can do a lot of fun rendering in Photoshop, but it needs to be augmented with other programs. So anyway, you'll need to find your own workflow through this whole complex web we weave. And for our online format, we're going to be using Canvas, which probably you're familiar with by now. And of course, there will be homework and graded assignments, recorded presentations. All those will be linked to on Canvas. And as I mentioned, Zoom will be a one-on-one synchronous help. So here, let's take a moment here and look at Canvas for a second. So here's our web page, or our page for this particular class. I believe this is the splash screen that you should see as a student. And of course, it has the description of the class, which I mentioned. There is here an option to launch the Zoom session for any office hours that you might sign up for. You should, when you sign up for office hours, I'll show you here, there's a link to, you can click through. It will open up a scheduling app. You can click on a day, oh, I need help here, and then you can just pick a time that you need help. And it will hopefully put a message in your Google Calendar. So that means you should be using a Google Calendar tied to your Endicott email address. If you are not, then you won't be seeing that link. So then you'll have to follow the Zoom link. It also has the Zoom link here. Again, this will show up hopefully in your calendar. So, and do remember that that's all you'll get for a reminder for the meeting. So, but you should be able to click through the link and find it. And I do have I will have a waiting room. So those of you who haven't experienced a waiting room in Zoom, it will say, the instructor or the owner of this meeting is going to let you in real soon. So if I'm helping someone else and I happen to run over, do be patient. I'll try to get to you as quickly as possible. So anyway, and then there are the assignments listed down here to submit an assignment. These are the ones with the green dot are homework assignments. And then this one here, the red button, is the graded version. So if you, obviously homework is worth less than the final assignment. If you click through, you'll find, first of all, importantly, a description of what you should be doing. It's probably a good idea to read that. There are documents in here. For example, here's the introductory lecture, which we're looking at right now. And then there's also there's a study guide that you can download. Again, you can just click on the download button and it will download it onto your computer. So for things like this is a window which occurs in the video that I show. You'll need that, so you will need to download that file. And Canvas won't like it when you try to open it. If you try to open it directly, you will have to click on it to download it and then put it onto your computer somewhere. So back here on Canvas, we can go to the discussions section. And what you'll see is there's a discussion for our first project, which is the existing conditions of the Sansi building. This is where you're basically going to be presenting your projects. I'll just click through and you'll see here it says post the multi-page PDF of your project. Now, of course, the assignment there are many assignments that lead up to this. This is the final one for the first kind of unit here. And what I will ask, first of all, you can post your assignment by clicking reply. And those of you who have used this before, you can type in here and say, here's my project. But you can post your project using any number of means. But the one that I would like you to use, there's this thing, more external tools. It's awfully handy. And you can post a number of different things, including YouTube documents. But for us, let's go with Yuja Media. And so for the first assignment, it's actually just a PDF file. So you can just click the browse button, and you'll find your PDF file, and you can click it, and then click Start Upload, and it'll load it right into your project. You can also use this, by the way, to record your screen. You will probably have to download a little bit of software. So if you don't have a way to record your screen, this is great. And then if you have recorded your screen, it's going to list down here any videos that you have loaded in already. So if you do happen to use Yuja to record. So you won't be recording every single homework assignment, please. What you will be doing for each of these individual homework assignments, it will tell you in the description what file format to use. But so sometimes I want a PDF, sometimes I want a PNG file format. It partly has to do with me wanting you to have control over which file formats are available. Some have advantages in different situations. Anyway, the link to the discussion is down here at the bottom, existing conditions of the building. But this one here is where you actually post the file. And you can see here, it's got a number of different features, but the big one is that it tells you what you're supposed to have, a shopping list, which we all love shopping lists, right? Anyway, how do you get to all this stage where you can actually do it? Well, first of all, you'll need Revit. I'm going to go to the Pages section here of Canvas. That's where you can have web links. And it's got my Zoom thing, and it's got the link here. If you click the one that says Revit, log in with your Autodesk credentials. So this will take you to the Autodesk website. You'll have to log in. Mine, I've already logged in, apparently. And then you can go to Revit and click here. It should allow you to download the software. But of course, this does mean that you will need to find your login that you used to get your free version of AutoCAD. And do note, the version of Revit in the labs on campus, or the classroom computers, is Revit 2020, not 2021. So you'll probably be best advised to download that version. And there are some other links here. There's also something we'll be using later on called Enscape, which is a free piece of software. And those of you, I know everyone is kind of in different situations. If you have taken Media 2, IA or ARC 104, you will find that you already know Enscape from using SketchUp. And I actually don't know who is who. Only a few of you am I aware of where you stand in the program. But it also works with other pieces of software, including Rhino, which again, some of you may know. And if you haven't gotten the Adobe software yet, there is the Endicott discounted software site. You can log in using your Endicott ID and get a cheaper version of Photoshop and all that. It will install a virtual printer on your computer, which is really nice for creating high quality PDF files. There are a number of other things down here, things like sites for seamless textures, scale figures, rendering things. And for those of you who don't have Photoshop on your computer, or you're running a Mac and you don't want to install it there for some reason, there are other versions of our software, other applications which match the skills of our software, which are free. They're free, so there's problems with them always, but there are options out there, especially if you want to use multiple computers at home. Finally, I do use these modules to kind of organize the assignments. It's more for my purposes than yours, but I do have links here which occur in other places as well, the same Zoom link, and here's where to sign up for individual meetings. So if you prefer finding things in this way, so here's all the assignments associated with Unit 1. But of course, all of those can be found on the home page. One little trick that not everyone has seen is that you can use PowerPoint to actually record your screen. Just go to the Insert tab here, and there's an option for screen recording. You click on that, select the area that you want to record by just drawing around it, and then click the record button, and it will record your pointer and all that kind of stuff. And what you'll end up with after it records it is it will put a little bit of video right into your PowerPoint slide. So I could record, oh, hey, look at that. That's a nice tiny house. Boy, that is really cute. Anyway, here's the video. I can hit play and all that kind of stuff. And I can just leave it here in my PowerPoint slide, but I could also save it out as a separate file. Again, MP4 seems to be the standard file type that we should all use. Anyway, and that allows you to post it to, I don't know, YouTube or something like that. So what is really the best way to use our fancy schmancy design software? Well, the biggest thing is your own skill set. What are you most comfortable doing? And of course, you're all still relatively early in learning the software, but each piece of software has its own kind of best uses. For example, this is from SketchUp, and it's a very, you guessed it, sketchy kind of look. It can look kind of hand-drawn, but it is a 3D architectural modeler, so you can really create pretty much anything. Other people prefer the super photorealistic views. This is much more challenging because, of course, there are very, very, very high standards for what looks photorealistic and when something is off. And this includes includes 3D geometry, lighting and materials, and the views that seem natural to human beings. So very challenging. Now, the advantage of any of this 3D software that we're using is that you can create views that would be really hard to generate by hand. I mean, the bird's eye view is a hard one really to create by hand. It's a 3-point perspective, very challenging, but the computer, no problem. In fact, sometimes it's hard to make it not be a 3D or 3-point perspective. Anyway, and we can use our visualization software to help us to see buildings in situations where they aren't, right? You've all probably seen images of projects kind of photoshopped in and made to look realistic. And of course, we see that all the time in the movie world, the cinematic world, where Marvel monsters and other creations are made to look like they are having battles or having spaceships land in downtown areas, and it's all really the same software or the same idea anyway behind the software. Anyway, even a more artistic approach, this is kind of a vignette, a close-up of some small element of a project, but it was created on the computer, but it's trying to capture something a little bit more subtle, a little bit more suggestive, and perhaps a little bit less of the kind of overt hyper photorealism, which frankly is a little exhausting sometimes. And you can even use other sorts of effects to create really interesting renderings that get away from the realism and are more suggestive of a kind of the activities of a space or the feel of a project. And some architects are well known for their renderings, people like Zaha Hadid and other contemporary architects, for doing renderings which are highly abstract. I mean, even Frank Gehry, he does them by hand, but they are so difficult to understand unless you're Frank Gehry. So anyway, and we have so many tools available to us. Autodesk, the sketchbook program, I'm a big fan of, mainly because if you have an iPad with a stylus, you can use the software, but you can also get a stylus to work on your touchpad of your computer and draw on top of images or just sketch very freely. And Adobe has competing products. There are all sorts of products out there. Anyway, and the types of drawings that you do, that's really the important part. I mean, of course, we need to know how to do drawings, but then we also need to know what to put into those drawings. How do you describe the circulation pattern in a multi-story building, for example? You need to be creative both in your design of the building, but then in the graphics you use to describe how that building operates. It's a challenge. It's definitely not easy. So, and this is a diagram here, a circulation diagram, which kind of takes the main elements of the building and separates them and spreads them out so that you can study this one feature. And then, of course, you know, in the end, you can combine these different techniques. For example, this is a SketchUp model that they've rendered. They've used Photoshop to make it look more realistic. They put on some realistic materials, but then they've overlaid it with this kind of X-ray view of the sides of the building, just to kind of teach you or show you how this whole construction is configured, not just kind of what it looks like, but actually how it's put together three-dimensionally. Then you can also do construction drawings. Now, construction drawings have a whole world of complicated rules to them. They're generally orthographic, obviously to scale, and you can pretty much do construction drawings in any program. Revit is probably the most powerful program that we are going to learn for doing construction drawings. But this set is right out of SketchUp, and so many offices will use that as well. And of course, AutoCAD. Yes, AutoCAD. It's still being used in the field. Anyway, all of our software can do all sorts of drawings, you know, and this is kind of typical of a design board where they might have a study model that they've created. This whole project seems pretty cheesy to me. Actually, it is a cheesy project. Down at the bottom it says so. But anyway, you can see here that this presentation board has a number of different kinds of things. They have the diagrams, the X-ray view that shows kind of how the building is put together, and then they have the more realistic perspective views. And again, they've used any number of different pieces of software to get to this final result. So, and I've kind of listed the different software that you're going to learn here, and obviously we're not going to learn all of those this semester because that would be really, really ambitious. But we here are going to learn Revit and Enscape. For those of you who have taken Media 1, you've already learned AutoCAD and probably a smattering of Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign. And those of you who've taken Media 2, you've already learned SketchUp. So as you can see, by the end of your second semester of sophomore year, you'll really have all of these pieces of software in your pocket and ready to be used for the types of drawings you need. And let's just take a look at a couple of drawings. And again, I would encourage you to think through both what you're trying to show and the kind of media. to produce this type of drawing requires software that you're going to learn, but it also requires the vision to say, oh, I want to make my building look like it's on a dramatic, windswept ocean peninsula. How am I going to show that? How am I going to be the artist and represent water? Well, they've photoshopped in different splatters and things like that, and then they've actually used their 3D modeler to create a model of the building and overlaid it with shadows and things like that. So these sorts of things it forces you to be both the technician and the artist. Okay, finally, last but not least, I do want to talk about how to use your laptop. And this is especially important because you're all on your laptop all day, probably, or some sort of computer. There are certain ergonometric things. You do want the screen high enough so that the middle of the screen is at your eye height. And that is your eye height when you're sitting up straight, not when you're slouching over. If your spine looks anything like a letter of an alphabet, it should be the letter I, not the letter S. So please, keep your face and your shoulders squared with the screen, and make sure you have good lighting so you're not getting a lot of reflections on your screen. Also, if you're zooming, you probably do not want the window right behind you. I know I can't tell you how many people who are zooming and you can't see anything because they're just a silhouette. And obviously when you're in person, use a padded backpack and a mouse. Always have a mouse. And the other thing that you can do is when you have a problem, and there's always problems with computers, copy the message down. Do it right away. Alt print screen or the snipping tool are great, and you can paste it in an email to IT, and they will help you. If you're on campus, you can of course go to campus, or you can just call them. You should also configure Windows to be your own little world here, and some people like the kind of zone, the tile world that Windows has created, which I find frankly a little annoying. But anyway, you can also, there's this taskbar down at the bottom of your screen. You can drag your applications right into that taskbar from the start menu, and that allows you to launch them quickly. In fact, it's called the quick launch bar. And so I do that just for maximum speed. You can also right click on that taskbar and go to the settings. And there you can do all sorts of great things like configure your computer for maximum performance. And if you can't find something, you can't find a program that you installed, it is under the programs menu, but you can also ask Cortana, although I also find that very annoying, so I turn off Cortana, but just search for it. Anyway, there are a number of things that you can do, including getting Windows updates. And if you have an account with Hotmail, you can use that to sign in and get your OneDrive working, which will back up your documents. Again, you can also use Dropbox. I'm not a walking advertisement. And the first assignment in this project, by the way, is going to be in this class is going to be set up a filing hierarchy. Now, I cannot tell you how annoying it is if you can't find a document, especially if you're asking for help. If you can't find your documents, then you're really not going to be working very efficiently. So I would strongly recommend make a folder on your computer. I use Dropbox. So Dropbox creates a folder on my computer, and it's called Dropbox. And inside that folder, everything that's inside that folder will get backed up automatically every time you hit save. Every single time. So if, the dog comes and pees on your computer, no problem, because all of your documents are backed up. The computer, eventually it's going to fail. You're going to spill, a smoothie on it or something. iCloud, I believe you can set it to do the same thing. OneDrive or Google will all do the same thing. There's Backburner. There's all sorts of available software backup systems. All of them work the same way. They make a folder on your computer. Within that folder, you should have something like the year 2021 now, or you can do it by semester, and then by class, and then by assignment. Okay, and I am going to ask you to take a screenshot or a snippet of that using the snipping tool and post that to the first assignment, because again, we are an online class. I cannot have you losing your electronic documents. That would be very bad. So anyway, and this is kind of what it looks like in the Windows file management system called Windows Explorer. And you can force it to always show you icons and things like that here under the properties, the folder options, so that you can see previews of what your projects look like. And there's all sorts of options there, but the big thing is please, please, please have a folder for this class, preferably for each assignment, so that you can find everything. Anyway, there are other settings on your laptop. The biggest one that I see with students around campus is that your power options are not set up properly. Most computers are set up so that they give what's called a balanced power setting, which is when you unplug your computer, it slows everything down, including the processor, so that you save energy. However, it also means that your computer runs crappy and Revit starts to slow down in an incredibly annoying way. So I would strongly recommend right-clicking on that power button and choosing a high-performance plan setting that does not slow your computer down. But when you're going to classes in person, that's really annoying because you have to carry your power brick with you. And I know these things weigh a ton. But none of you are going to class right now. You're all hopefully just sitting at home somewhere. And so leave your computer plugged in and you won't have this problem. Other things that you can do, there are some super advanced power settings under the PC main version of the Windows, where you can go and adjust all settings for best performance. This will get rid of animations and other things, transparent toolbars. Some people like that. It makes your Windows computer look a little more Mac-y, which for those Mac users, it's at least a little bit familiar. But I turn them off because I always have like 12 programs running, and so I need every drop of processor power. If your PC is running slowly, and it will, so sooner or later, first of all, close all the apps except the one you're currently using, close extra browser windows, shut down Bluetooth and NFC if it has it. Check Windows Update. In fact, check all of your software updates. That is, 9 times out of 10, that is the problem, is the computer is waiting for an update. And then the other thing is shut the computer down. Give it a break. Sometimes your computer will actually get pretty hot. This is particularly true when you're doing a lot of rendering. So, just shut it down and give it a break. So anyway, there are a number of other things that you can do. Uninstalling kind of bloated software is another thing. Just go to the System menu and Apps and Features, and you should be able to find the programs you want to uninstall. Now, some of them, like Adobe Illustrator, the Adobe products, those are actually typically done through the Adobe app. And then finally, there are a number of things that you can do on your taskbar. The taskbar is that bar that shows up at the bottom of your screen. I usually hide it so that I get every pixel available on my screen. I don't need to see the taskbar all the time. In fact, I'm not quite sure why they do that. And again, if you're a Mac user, the same option is available. You can leave the launch pad, I believe they call it, up at all times, or you can hide it. And if you're working on a teeny tiny little screen, little laptop, every little inch you get for drawing is necessary. Another thing, again, real geeky computer stuff, but on a Windows machine, if you shut that lid, the computer will sleep. I mean, not actually sleep, but of course it calls it sleeping. And that sometimes is crashy. Documents don't save themselves, so you shut that lid and, if it crashes, the document will not be saved. So what I would recommend, first of all, before doing any of that stuff, always hit save before you get up from your seat. But if you click the start button, you can choose hibernate instead of shut down or sleep. Just click that Windows button and you'll get there. Sometimes I also get asked about privacy. Should you cover your camera? Yeah, probably. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg does it. We should probably do it too. But obviously, if we're doing presentations, now we won't be doing any in this class. But if you are doing a presentation like over Zoom, yeah, it's nice to see people and make sure that you're actually all awake. So that's a very handy thing. Hopefully, we won't have to do this much longer. But anyway, the other thing to be aware of, all this software costs money. Autodesk and software is free. However, the Adobe Suite, I actually think it's $29 monthly, not $19 monthly now. And then there's other stuff, the MS Office Suite and SketchUp, which comes annually. There is an online version that you can use for free if you get stuck. As I mentioned, PowerPoint is great for presentation, and you can use it for also recording. And I recommend using an external microphone. And you can also use your phone. There's software available that allows you to use your phone as a camera and also as a microphone. If your computer is, like if the fan has been running continuously for the last 4 months or something like that, that's probably a good idea. The other thing is you can forward all your email to one. This is an online class. You need to get your email. So, and you need to get it regularly because like that's it, gang. That's how I communicate. So please, if you're, on your phone all the time, just get your Endicott email either as the primary email or forwarded to your other apps. And there is a good Gmail, phone mail app. Finally, there are things like clearing the cookies on your computer. And I recommend the Chrome browser, not the Microsoft Edge. Not because I hate Microsoft so much as just it seems to be a little less crashy than Edge. So my strong recommendation is please go get Revit now. Just go get it and make sure that you have it installed successfully. And it will, when you get it, it will probably license itself when you are logged in. You just need to log in using your same credentials. In Revit, there's a login button. So, and if it doesn't license, we'll find a way. Although, you get 30 days for free, and that'll last us for this whole course, and then we can fix it when we see each other in person. So the homework for our first day of classes, which is Tuesday, install and license Revit. And there's a welcome to Revit video there on the first assignment. And I would also not only strongly recommend, I will require you to install some kind of backup software, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever it is, or have an external drive. Whatever your backup system, you need to have a backup system and you need to prove it to me. You also need to prove that you have a file structure that is configured. I cannot tell you how strongly I would like to recommend not buying an external drive, but instead getting Dropbox or something like it, just because it automatically backs up right away. And I know some of you have purchased an external drive and they're awesome. The problem is they are in the same location as your computer, which means if the sprinklers go off in, the Starbucks you're sitting in, your external drive and your laptop will be ruined. And these systems, computers fail their devices just like any other device. So count on it failing at some point. It's not whether or not you fail, it's how you fail that matters. Anyway, the other thing to mention here is obviously I'm using YouTube. So the videos are available if you happen to be not on your computer or using Canvas. Obviously you can get them through Canvas, but you can also just go to YouTube and there they are. And they're probably more or less in the order that we're going to be covering them, although one or two of the videos we won't be covering. Anyway, I look forward to, I guess, not seeing you in class on Tuesday, but instead having you submit your assignment. And FYI, a couple of my videos, the more recent ones, I have been adding a table of contents down here below. You'll see a link to different points in the video, and you can just click on that point and it will jump in the video to that section. And that's a quick way to jump to different parts of the video that you may be looking for. And in fact, I've included a table of contents with this introductory lecture. Don't forget that all you need to do is go to good old Canvas and click through to your assignment here. And you can post your assignment. Just click Submit Assignment, and it will give you an option to choose a file, and you can add multiple files, and you can come back and resubmit. By the way, I am going to require you to post these assignments on time. Each one will be due, let's see, 8 p.m. There's usually 2 in a day. One is due at 8 p.m., one is due at 10 p.m. You can submit them early. You don't have to stay up late. I know some people are early birds, and that's fine. And I will try to make comments as quickly as possible, but I do understand that people work and they have another class that may have a synchronous class meeting requirement. So please just get your assignments submitted as quickly as possible, but get them submitted by 10 p.m. so that you can get credit for it. I'll make comments on it either way. So when I give you comments, you will see it on your main screen feed, or you can just click through the assignment. But it will usually, I believe, if you're set to get notifications, it will notify you if you have comments. But you can't see them right away. This is an annoying thing. You have to click, on the upper right, there's a submission details button. And then if I have given you visual feedback here, well, you can't preview it. You have to click the view feedback button, and then you'll see any verbal or visual comments that I've made here in your screen. And this is also where you can resubmit the assignment. If I've given you comments like, this was terrible, you need to resubmit, you can do that, and it will not erase your other file. So be sure to just add a new file. And I will be able to see both, so I'll be able to see if they've changed or not. So again, to wrap up, the first assignment today is, the first assignment for our first class anyway, is to go ahead and get your Revit installed on your computer and get it up and running and take a look at the introductory lecture. That's the first assignment. And then there will be a second assignment where you actually start modeling right away. So good luck.